Brothers, take a moment and look around in your office on a Monday morning. What you'll see are rows of men in pressed shirts and lifeless eyes. They move like ghosts, disciplined, dependable, and defeated. They speak in corporate tongues. They bow to deadlines, and they mistake compliance for purpose. Gentlemen, these are not bad men. They are tamed men. They are shackled by payslips, mortgages, and school fees. They are programmed to produce, to provide, and to perish quietly. They have done everything that the society asked them. They got the degree, the job, the colon, the marriage. Yet, deep down, they know something is missing. That missing piece is not money, it is sovereignty. And the red pill begins there. At the moment you realize that you have been domesticated by systems that profit from your servitude, then you are ready to be red pilled. Remember, we talk about red pill awareness. Red pill is about being aware, situationally aware, not being a zombie. So let's look at the tragedy of the domesticated male. Modern society was designed to neutralize men through comfort and conformity. You are told to be a good man, obedient, agreeable, and dependable. You traded your fire for job security. You silenced your instincts for peace. You became an employee of the state, a servant to the company, and a slave to your family's expectations. But what is the result? Men retire poor, purposeless, and forgotten. And the statistics don't lie. The US Census Bureau report of 2023, it says that more than 60% of men above 55 have less than $100,000 in retirement savings. In the Office of National Statistics in the UK, they found that 1 in 3 divorced men live alone with no close relationships. And in Japan, the phenomenon of kudokushi, men dying alone and unnoticed, it's an epidemic. Gentlemen, if you're enjoying this video, take a quick moment to like, subscribe, and share. When you subscribe, you'll always get notified when I drop new content. And when you like and share, you help this channel to grow, and more importantly, you help other men to discover the tools that they need to level up. Remember, when one man rises, we all rise. Now let's get back to the video. So, men are living longer, but they are dying inside. Decades before their bodies follow. Guys, this is a serious matter. The fact that you go to work, you have a family, you have a salary, doesn't mean you are alive. Many of us die before we actually enter the mortuary. So this is what happens when a man forgets his mission and becomes what Rollo calls a utility male. You become a tool, you are a function, you are a resource. So the first thing we learn from Red Pill is your mission must come before everything. A man without a mission is a man without meaning. You must have a mission, your own personal mission in this life before you leave the surface of the ground where you're walking on. A man's worth is not in what he provides for others. It is in the direction that he creates for himself. So a man must become his mental point of origin. And that means the axis around which his decisions, his relationships, and his purpose revolve. Being your own mental point of origin is about enlightened self-interest. When you're your own mental point of origin, it means when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you think about should be you. That's when you're in your own mental point of origin. Most of you, the first thing you think about in the morning is your job, your wife, your children, your pastor, your church, and so on. You're not your own mental point of origin. That means you are liable to be exploited. You must always put yourself first. And when you fail to do this, your life becomes a revolving door of obligations. Your boss owns your time, your wife owns your validation, and your children own your future. The government owns your income, and you are everywhere except within yourself. You've abandoned yourself. The Red Pill doesn't tell men to abandon their families or their careers. It tells them to reorder the hierarchy of values. You have to order your hierarchy of values. Your mission must come first, or everything that you build will eventually collapse. Women are naturally drawn to men who are mission-oriented because they radiate certainty and direction. Society respects men who are sovereign, not servile. If you stop being the captain of your own ship, even your crew will stop believing in you. So let's look at the trap of servitude. The corporate treadmill is modern slavery disguised as security. You sell 40 years of your life for a pension that may not even exist, especially in corrupt countries like ours. I know so many people are still struggling to get their pension in their retirement. So you chase promotions that change your title, but not your trajectory. You pour your best energy into someone else's vision, then wonder why your soul is starving. Robert Kiyosaki tells us in Rich Dad, Poor Dad that the poor and middle class, they work for money, but the rich have money work for them. But beyond money, the truly rich man has autonomy over his time, his focus, and his emotional state. So what you should be looking for is not money, but your freedom and your autonomy. The trap isn't your job. It is your identification with it. We've seen cases in our newspapers of men who commit suicide because they were denied a promotion or they were fired. That's a big problem. You cannot identify yourself with your job. The moment your identity fuses with your role, like I'm an engineer, I'm a banker, I'm a provider, you cease to become. Remember, the journey of a man is about becoming. Of course, you can seek to become the best engineer in the world, but you must always become. You must always be in the journey of becoming, take up the burden of performance into perpetuity. So once you identify yourself as your job, you start surviving instead of expanding. I did a video earlier about the coffin of competence, and you can find it in my TikTok page. I think it's the first one. So you start surviving instead of expanding. And when expansion stops, decay begins. This is why you need to have a purpose, because your purpose can never stop. But your job can stop. Your job has a job description. And if you identify yourself as an engineer and your job description says what the engineer's job entails, you basically stopped becoming. You stop expanding. You earn your pay slip, you go home. So you have to become your mental point of origin. And to reclaim your sovereignty, you must start living from the inside out, not outside in. You cannot let the outside define what you are on the inside. Being your own mental point of origin, it means that you decide what success means to you, not your company or the society. It means you make decisions that prioritize your long-term vision, not short-term approval or your paycheck. It means that you measure your progress by your growth, not by external praise. And you must ask yourself daily, am I making this decision because it serves my mission or because it prevents conflict? That question alone separates kings from slaves. So, what is a framework of sovereign masculinity? The first thing is you have to rebuild your frame. And remember, we define the masculine frame as the unspoken acceptance of one's authority. Having the frame is about taking the leadership. So you need to stop apologizing for your desires. You need to stop outsourcing your confidence to your salary or your woman's approval. Your frame, which is your mental stability, clarity, and presence, is a foundation of your influence. Jack Donovan tells us in The Way of Men that masculinity is not about strength. It's about strength. It's about courage, and it's about mastery. It's not about compliance. It's about strength, courage, honor, and mastery. The second thing you have to do is you need to build multiple streams of identity, not just income. So you don't just have multiple streams of income, gentlemen. You must also have multiple versions of yourself. And this aligns with Jean-Paul Sartre's Mauvais foi, which I've spoken about earlier when I did a video about identity. So there are multiple versions of yourself. There's the builder, there's the warrior, there's the lover, and there's a teacher. Every man who fails to evolve becomes redundant. The third thing you have to do is you need to build wealth beyond money. Yes, you need to invest, but you also have to build intellectual capital, social capital, and physical health. Don't be a fat guy dealing with lifestyle diseases or a guy who only reads newspapers. You must read books. You must become intellectually strong. You must have a social circle. You must have a social network. Build your network. Don't be a loner. Lone wolves get killed. The man who controls his body, his mind, and the network never retires broke. The fourth thing you have to do is you have to maintain dread power. This is passive dread. And you use it not as manipulation, but as energy. You have to be unpredictable. You have to keep growing. And you have to keep expanding your mastery. Never stagnate, never settle. Predictable men are loved for stability, but they are desired for their mystery. And also the hard truth. The hard truth is that women, they follow power, not history. So you cannot buy loyalty with time or sacrifice. In your life, if your life loses motion, your value depreciates. In our eyes, in society's eyes, and in your own. Hypergamy ensures that women align upward, biologically, psychologically, and socially. That means that your mission is not optional. It is the only insurance policy against irrelevance. So she can love you deeply, but she will not follow you into stagnation. The world respects your work, not your intentions. So keep ascending, gentlemen. Always. So in closing, gentlemen, the challenge, the tragedy, of the modern world isn't that the man fails. Okay? The tragedy of the modern man isn't that he fails. It is that he settles, he becomes comfortable. And remember, comfort is the biggest destroyer of masculinity. He chooses quiet servitude over wild freedom. He calls his fear responsibility, and he calls his resignation stability. These are excuses for not maximizing your potential. You are not born to be a cog in a corporate machine or a wallet in a marriage, gentlemen. You are born to build, to conquer, and to create meaning out of chaos. As Nietzsche warned, and thus spoke Zarathustra. Nietzsche warned that the man who cannot command himself will be commanded. So here is your charge. Be your own mental point of origin. Reclaim your time, your will, and your drive. Stop waiting for retirement to start living. Lead your family. Don't serve it. Build a life that is so magnetic that your children inherit not your paycheck, but your purpose. Remember that the world doesn't need more obedient men. It needs sovereign men. Men who are grounded, men who are dangerous, and purposeful and free. So, professional men of the matrix who are listening to me, step off the treadmill. Reignite the mission. And die standing, not kneeling. Get unplugged, and I'll see you on the next one.